Hi everyone, this is Richard. In this video we're going to go over callbacks or function references. From my understanding they're pretty much the same thing. Just to let you guys know, this is going to be one of those videos that I'm going to do a little backtracking on. It's kind of one of those things where I'm having a hard time as I've read a number of sources and none of them seems to be very clear on this. They presuppose a lot of knowledge ahead of time, and they make references to other things, and so I look up those other things and they presuppose already knowledge about other stuff, and I end up going in circles and circles. And so this talk was originally going to be about something completely different. After a few jumps around, I finally ended up back here. So I'm going to step back a little bit, go a little slower. I'm going to probably make shorter videos more frequent. That's just the way I learn. So if I don't understand something, I chop it up into smaller blocks and go from there. Okay? It's a little more annoying for you, and I'm really sorry, but that's the struggle that I am actually having, given the lack of tutorials, information about Dart, since it is a young language, and most people who are very good at it are very advanced, and they don't remember what it was when they were first beginning out, it seems. At least that's not the audience that they intended for, which is okay, but that just makes the struggle a little bit harder, okay? So let's go over callbacks or function references. From my understanding, callbacks and function references, they're the same thing. They're synonymous. No, not apple, oranges. It's a tomato type of stuff. So, so what is a callback? Basically, a callback is it's a function that's, by definition, a function that is passed as an argument of another function and is invoked in the future after the event occurs in another function. All right? Okay, that's kind of one of those definitions where you're like, okay, what does that even say? Here's an example, okay? Callback function var a, because I don't care if it's an int, a num, or anything like that, or a string or something, and then I'm going to print it, okay? Choice equals callback function, and then I'm going to say choice 15. All right, let's print it and see what happens. Okay, it prints 15. So when you think about it, choice equals callback function itself. So in other words, a function that's passed as an argument of another function and is invoked in the future after an event occurs in the other function. Okay, so this function is passed over to this function. This is a function. This is not actually a variable. Okay, this function is passed to this function, and it's after a future event occurs, this is passed as the argument here. Okay, what the heck does that even mean? Let's look at our choices right here. What we're actually doing. Notice this is not a function call. If it was a function call, that would happen right there, right? And the difference between a function reference and a function call is a function call happens immediately. A function reference happens at a later time. And that's important because remember when we talked about futures and stuff like that? That's exactly what that is. So what if I just did a function call? Well, I'm going to have to do a function call, and then I'm going to have to put like 15 right inside here, right? So there's going to be nothing else. See, notice that I'm not calling the function here. As soon as I say var choice equals callback function, it prints the 15. So this thing is activated immediately. So when you think about when you have something like a variable or a function that has this type of value itself, what we're actually telling it to do is, okay, return to me right here, this thing right here and now. Okay, now what if this was something instead like a return a, right? We can do that. Then in that case, this would be the value of a, and then you would say print choice, just like that. And the same thing, it would be 15. Right? So the value here, but what we don't want is the value. We want the function to pass into this variable right here. So this function passes to here, and it's invoked in another time. So let me see here if we got a choice. Okay, so now Let me go back here because it makes it nice and simple. Let me make it this way. And what if we do this then? 15, no. We're calling this function right here, and this is just the callback or the function reference. Now, this is kind of a silly example, isn't it? So when you think about it, well, wait a minute. Why do you have to make this equal to this? That doesn't really make much sense, does it? Well, in this particular example, no, because why don't you just use callback functions sometime in the future instead? And that's actually a good question, and we'll go over that in a couple of seconds here. I hope that makes it a little bit clearer. But at the same time, it gives us a little bit of flexibility in terms of what we want to do. And it may not, I just want to talk about the concept in and of itself. So if it's just the variable, and if you have a function call, it'll take it right then and there. But you might have a lot of stuff in between here. You might have a lot of stuff going on inside of here before you actually activate the choice variable or function right inside here. So that's you'll call this sometime in the future. This one you're going to call right here and now. Okay, so sometime in the future, going to do a bunch of stuff right inside of here and call it, as opposed to right here, you're going to call it right now, and then you're going to do a bunch of stuff, and then you'll call it again, or something like that. All right? So that's the difference between a function callback function reference and actually a function call. So let's keep that in mind itself. Something in the future. Example. Now, where's another different example? Okay, here I'm going to do HTML. Notice I'm repeating myself several times. Unfortunately, that's just as much for me as it is for you, so I apologize if it is kind of getting a little annoying there. HTML, type equals button, value equals button, ID equals button. Button, right there, okay? Then we got, right here, button equals query selector button, so create an object out of this. Button.onClick.listen, callback example. Normally, remember we did mouse event e, and then we did a anonymous function, right? And then it would be call back example e. We did that, right? And so when you clicked on it, console's net open, click on button, and it says you clicked the button for button. That's the name of it. Not very creative, is it? But that's okay. So that's what we did before. But now all we have to do is put this right here, callback example. Okay, is it simpler? Maybe in this particular example. No, it's not any simpler. What's the big difference itself? But again, it shows the concept. And in the future, it might be reasonable it'll show you, hey, wait a minute. I understand why now it might be a little bit preferable to put it this way. Okay, so button.onClick.listen, just callback example. Now, we're missing a couple things, right? The parameter. Where's the parameter itself? Remember, instead of the function, the anonymous function, we're replacing it with this one, but we use the parameter from the anonymous function inserted into the here right now. So it automatically gets inserted right inside of here. So you don't need to put a parameter here. All you need to do is put the callback function example, and it's there. In some of these anonymous functions, if you don't have a parameter, I don't think it works. I'm not there yet. I play around with it. Let me know. Put a comment in the comment section if you could play around with it and see. I can't remember a time when you use an anonymous function without a parameter. I'm sure there is. There are. I just can't remember it off the top of my head. So callback example. So it takes this, introduces it inside there, and it does the same exact thing. At least I hope. Yeah, you clicked on the button for button. So it does the same exact thing as this. All right, so maybe that makes it a little bit easier. That's it for callbacks, function references. I think we're going to use it in the close near future, and we'll keep moving from there, okay? Thank you.